What's up, guys? Mason is out on the bulldozer right now working on the motocross track. If you guys watch the channel a lot, you know we've spent most of our time riding the turn track the last few years. And I don't know, we just had an itch. My son started asking to kind of ride the moto track more. I've been interested in jumping. Mason's been an off-road guy. He's kind of getting into moto a little bit more. He's wanting to ride the moto track. You know, a couple other buddies got dirt bikes again who hadn't had them. They're wanting to do some moto. So when you get enough of a team together, you can make a motocross track happen. When we originally built our moto track, we made some mistakes that have made it kind of a pain to deal with in some ways. Let's go out there right now, take a look, see what Mason's doing on the bulldozer, and I'll explain you guys the mistakes I made when I made the first track years ago. This was probably back in 2006, 2005, 6, and what we're doing now to try to remedy those mistakes and make an at-home motocross track that's safe and you know, more low maintenance like a turn track. Let's go. Can you guys hear those cicadas? It is nutty. Cicada invasion. All right, guys, here we are in the bottom flat, the lower turn. If I can make it up this or not. Oh, we made it in high. Okay. Then it flattens out up here on top as well. All right, long downhill right here. Like to keep the dirt nice and loose for a moto track, right? Ignore that berm, it wasn't there. What happens is when it rains, all the water runs through the track, creates rain ruts. I'm telling you, if you would wait a month or two, you would get rain ruts right here that this is nothing. Sometimes they'd be a foot deep, deeper. I mean, it just washes all your loose dirt off the top. And you know, it's just super sketchy. You got to get out here and disc and disc and disc, and more of it gets washed out and washed out and washed out. And that's pretty much all our track became, because it's all up and down the hills. So what we started doing is taking out these uphill and downhill sections. We still have one on the side and one over there, but when we get to the top, we're going to cross the flat, and then we're cutting back this direction. So we're going, you know, we're not going up and down the hill, we're going kind of parallel with it, and that's hopefully going to let the water drain better. And if it does create rain ruts, then we'll be riding over top of the ruts, you know, hitting them perpendicular instead of front wheel with them. We hope that's going to be a lot better. You can see Mason operating the dozer down there. We get a lot of questions about, you know, what equipment do you use to maintain the tracks? What do you need? Well, let me tell you, in my experience, we've been able to put a dozer on the motocross track and shape it up like once a year, and we can pretty much keep it nice with just a tractor and disc. And we have a big tractor and a big disc, but you don't have to have that. You just have to make more passes. Now you can see this dozer, it's dozer tracked in right now, but I can hit this 2-3 swipes with the disc. I can do this entire huge motocross track in probably 45 minutes or an hour, and you've got a couple different options after that. I used to just leave it and we'd ride it, and it's deep. It really sucks the power from a 250 especially, but it's fun. Usually get 1 or 2 ruts and those become the main lines. But I've since discovered that I like to pack it down with the Jeep. Let me show you what that looks like over here. Okay, here we are over here at the other corner. Now, to you on video, this might look like flat, smooth, glassy track. It's not. So this is track that's been disked and then ran over with the Jeep. And what I've noticed that does is the Jeep is like a sweet spot for weight. It's probably like 3,500 pounds or something like that, and it packs this down just enough to keep it from soaking in too much rain, but it'll still soak in some. But it's now completely wide open lines wise, but you still get very good traction. It's not slick, it's not glassy, it's not blue groove, it's just packed on top. This is especially good if you got kids, because they don't want to ride you know, 8 inches of deep disc stuff. It's just really hard for them. This still gets insane good traction with big bikes, and kids can ride it, and you can use the entire length of the track. And I've noticed that if we disc it and then pack it in like this, it really doesn't matter how much it rains. It kind of just draws a little bit of moisture, holds it, and is good for a long time. Now Mason, the dozer that he's on, our dozer, is a old 450C. It's a late 70s model, so there's not much electrical in there. It's very slow. It's levers. It's not super large, and it's not super technical, but it can get the job done. Dozers like it you can find for $8,000-$10,000 all day on Marketplace. You can push dirt. They're really good if you're starting a track from scratch. If you're starting a track from scratch, you're going to need to clear a bunch of brush, probably push over trees, move a lot of dirt, shape drains, all that. It's worth starting with a dozer. However, after that track is built and you get your jumps, you get your piles of dirt in where you like them, you kind of have an idea of what obstacles you want to have for a while, you can get a lot more done a lot faster with a track loader, a compact skid track loader. Especially if you're not a you know, a seasoned dozer operator, which I am not. I can push up piles, I can push up brush, but I don't really have the patience to use that old dozer and try to form jumps and stuff like that. These newer dozers, yeah, maybe you can do it. I don't have experience on those. What I'm saying is you can get way more bang for your buck by getting a skid steer, a tracked skid steer. You'll be able to shape. Anybody can jump on one of those and get the hang of it in a few hours, and you'll be able to shape jumps way better. You'll be able to move dirt. Those are obviously the best. If you have one of those, you'll be able to put that on your personal motocross track just a few times a year and keep it primo. I get a lot of questions about wheels versus tracks. Tracks are always better. Tracks are gonna be better for shaping, prepping, you know, tamping it down, setting it in. However, I have borrowed and rented wheeled units before and been okay. As long as it's dry, and as long as you're not having to drive in and really scoop dirt and move it, you can get it done with the wheeled units. You can you know, move dirt, shape jumps, you can shape berms really easy with them. All the stuff that's hard to do with a dozer, especially an old dozer. Another recommendation I have is, if you've got the time, you've got the dozer, take a few extra minutes and make a road that goes around your moto track, right beside it, everywhere. It's just gonna make life so much better. So you'll be able to get a vehicle around it for emergencies. If you ever want to use a water truck, you'll be able to drive a water truck around it and spray. And it's just nice for people if they want to come out and watch. You know, they can be on the side-by-side and easily drive around it and not have to hop on and off the track, which can be dangerous, right? So that's what we're trying to do. We have that in some sections, but not all, but it's kind of a work in progress. Next tip would be to keep things as rolled and safe as possible. The majority of crashes and injuries happen during practice because you're pushing your physical ability the most, or maybe you're goofing off the most, you're not paying attention, you're not dialed in, zoned in like you would be at a race. So make your jumps at home, make them forgiving, make them rolled. I mean, you're not trying to impress anybody. You know, it's not a big deal, so keep it safe. Now, after you build your jumps, If you aren't going to have equipment on hand for a while, I recommend letting it rain and let that stuff kind of settle in before you ride it. It'll last a lot longer. If you do have the equipment on hand, go ahead and ride it. Make sure, you know, test everything, make sure it's how you like it before you give your equipment back. So this was the very first jump we ever built on this track. We built this with a wheeled skid steer, and the dirt we had for it was like, I don't know, several hundred yards through those woods and down the hill. So we trammed back and forth with loads of dirt from way over that way and built this double. And it's been here, oh gosh, at least 20 years now. And it is so set in that we can ride it even in the rain if we want, and it doesn't get any ruts on the face. It has kind of settled a little bit in that I notice over time they kind of lose some of their pop. Dirt settles in the bottom and you have to hit them a little faster and a little faster over time, but you can always shape them up. This thing, it is almost like concrete on the face now. Here's the landing down here. At one time we used to have a little roller out there, and we would sky this thing and land way down there at that little roller too. So, but it got to be kind of ridiculous. I've been trying to jump this with my RC cars, but it's always been so rough coming up to it. You can't keep the RC car controlled and going fast enough to jump it. Just different style jumps, I guess. Also, all of our obstacles, we like to have, like I said, a road off beside them. So if there's any kids that aren't hitting them, don't want to hit them, there's always somebody, you know, they can go around them. You know, just kind of helps keep the congestion, keep it safe. And then if I'm bringing equipment through here, there's plenty of room. Now, before I had the Jeep, we used the mule to pack down the track. We started doing this when we had little ones on P-dubs and they couldn't ride the disc track, and then we realized we liked it. The side-by-side will work, especially something like this with some, you know, mild tires. However, this mule has like no suspension, literally, so it will beat you to death riding around a motocross track for 20 minutes trying to, you know, set it in. All right, guys, hope you got some useful tips and tricks out of that. Feel free to leave me questions down below. In the next video on the motocross track, I'm going to take you around a lap on the old setting, and then I'm going to take you around a lap on our new design and see what you guys think. And here in the next week or so, you should see some videos popping up of us actually riding it on dirt bikes. We're building some jumps for Weston to try on his SXE5. He's begging to learn to jump and stuff. So yeah, should be some new, fresh, interesting home moto track content. So make sure you subscribe. See you in the next one.